Released in America on February 15, 2011 for the PlayStation 3, Hyperdimension Neptunia is a turn-based JRPG that is a bit of an enigma of sorts. I'll dwell into that aspect later, but just know that for a game that went on to have 4 main series games and a bunch of spin-offs, the original Neptunia is not a good representation of this franchise in some areas. So let's start off with the areas that are good, as we reminisce on Hyperdimension Neptunia. Let me start off by saying this. Neptunia is not normally a serious franchise. This franchise can be summarized as the console wars personified with cute anime girls. And they take that concept and roll with it in the most silly way possible. I mean, the name of the world in these games is Game Industry. Your main character 10 minutes in has no idea what to do, so she starts wondering if she should wait for more text boxes to pop up. The alternative name for goddesses in this world is a CPU, or a console patron unit. And that type of humor is all over this series. So if that doesn't sound appealing to you, you're probably not gonna like this series. But either way, let's actually get into what the story of this game is. The story begins in Celestia, where the goddesses Purple Heart, Black Heart, White Heart, and Green Heart are battling it out to see who is the best. Upon reaching a stalemate, the other goddesses decide to get rid of the most difficult to fight, which they determine is Purple Heart. The 3 of them gang up on Purple Heart and use their combined strength to defeat her. They then throw her out of Celestia and down to the human world below. Purple Heart, now in her human form known as Neptune, hears a voice. This voice belongs to Histoire, a tome that not only knows everything but also created Neptune and the other 3 goddesses. Histoire asks for Neptune's help as she is under a seal that can only be broken with key fragments from the 4 nations, Planetune, Last Station, Loe, and Leanbox. Neptune, with no memories of previous events and having nothing better to do, decides to look for the key fragments and save Histoire, encountering many friends along the way, like the nurse in training Kampa, the guild member IF, the keeper of justice Nisa, and an alchemist merchant by the name of Gust. During their journey of misadventures and side questing, they run into the other 3 goddesses, and their encounters aren't uneventful to say the least. Blackheart attempts to finish Neptune off with surprise attacks but ends up losing each time. One time in particular, she runs off with Neptune giving chase. When Neptune catches her, Blackheart has reverted to her human form Noir. Noir states that she lost her memory, and ends up tagging along with the group, with her and Neptune sharing a bit of a bond. The next day, Noir leaves without telling Neptune and co, and only leaves a note saying that she got her memory back. Eventually, the team run into Noir again, and find out she's the goddess of Last Station, who as a way of thanks for being nice to her, tells Neptune and co where they can get the key fragment. Whiteheart also tries to surprise attack the gang a few times, but things are a bit different. They go to seek the goddess and meet Blanc, Whiteheart's human form. While initially Blanc wants nothing to do with them, she soon realizes that Neptune has lost her memory and becomes more willing to help, but not without dropping some hints here and there that maybe it would be better off without Neptune regaining her memories. Lastly, Greenheart tries to poison Neptune, succeeds, and after the group cure Neptune of her poison, Greenheart as her human form Vert has the team help her in dealing with her corrupted government. After helping with that, Neptune and co are told where the final key fragment is, and with that in tow they go to free Histoire. They find Histoire and free her from her seal. Histoire in turn tells them about the person who sealed her, the original goddess and contributor to the 4 goddesses currently in power, R4, who in turn turns out to be a character that showed up multiple times during the story as a slight nuisance. R4 is currently on her way to Celestia to take control over it and rule the world. Neptune and co get raring to get going and start R4, but they need 4 more MacGuffins to unlock the path to Celestia first. It is at this time that you can fulfill certain conditions to get one of the 3 endings. If you go through the game normally and don't recruit any of the goddesses, then you get the normal ending, where Neptune doesn't get her memory restored and everybody just goes their separate ways. If you recruit 1 or 2 of the goddesses and restore Neptune's memory, then you'll get an ending where the goddesses you recruit goes to protect Celestia, while Neptune stays in Planetune while everyone else goes off to help take out any of the remaining monsters. Only if you get Neptune's memory back and do what is required to get all 3 goddesses to join you will you be on the path for the true ending, where after you reach Celestia and beat R4, the 4 goddesses use their power to remove all the monsters from Game Industry, making the world peaceful. The 4 goddesses also give up their own powers and become normal humans, hoping that their powers will be used to help create a new goddess who will succeed them, and they all lived happily ever after. Pretty standard story, but still pretty good. Besides the constant ham this game loves to revel in, there is legitimately some very wholesome and cute moments to be had with this game and its story. It's a very fun, lighthearted journey that lovingly pokes fun at other JRPGs and games in general, at least in terms of story. Gameplay, on the other hand, is where that enigma comment from earlier comes into play. So, shall we? The gameplay is your normal JRPG affair. You get a quest that's either story-based or off to the side and you explore dungeons, fight some monster, get some treasure, you know, the works. However, with each of those aspects comes some depth as well as some weird design quirks. Before engaging in any activities, you start at a map screen of the region you're currently in. Here you could shop for weapons and accessories, enter dungeons, transfer to another region through a dungeon, view side quests, and engage in cutscenes or events. In dungeons, there are one of three things you will have to do: obtain a specific item, defeat a specific monster, or reach the dungeon's exit. On your way there, you can encounter obstacles. These can be cleared by using dungeon skills unique to each character. The battle system works as so. You are given a set amount of AP, ability points, at the start of each turn, which determines how many moves you can make. Each move consumes a set amount of AP, and those moves can be swapped out in your menu to create an array of combinations. These moves range from normal attacks, defending, which doesn't consume any AP, specials, summons as you acquire them, guns, yes, guns, and a skill exclusive to CPUs, the ability to transform into their goddess forms, giving them increased stats and additional moves. Enemies have a GP or guard point gauge alongside their HP. When that enemy has attacked, the GP gauge will decrease. When the gauge is empty, you will break the enemy's guard, and during this time that enemy will receive more damage than usual until the GP gauge refills. This general framework is used and improved upon in the other games in the main series, and even in its first incarnation, this battle system is still really fun and satisfying to fiddle with. In general, the game is your standard JRPG, with some great writing, a good sense of humor, and a good battle system. However, there are some things that I personally don't like. For one thing, the item system is a mess. As you level up, your characters will get item skills. These only activate in battle, require materials that you find in dungeons to even use, activate on their own once a certain condition has been met in battle, and to top things off, have a % chance to activate even if the right conditions appear. Every item skill starts off at 0% and activates when you put points towards the percentage to increase the chance of the item being used. Now, tell me, does healing really need to be this complicated? Was opening your menu and picking an item that tiresome that it needed this Rube Goldberg system to do the job? Another issue I have with this game is its pacing. It takes so long for one story beat to pass in this game. And on that note, I really downplayed how much you fight the CPUs in this game. Counting the encounter where you're recruiting them, you fight Noir and Blanc 5 times each. To be fair, you fight Vert twice, but still, that is 12 fights just to get 3 party members on your team. Oh, and speaking of party members, you know how I brought up that you can get Gust and Nisa to join your team? Yeah, you can. However, they can't battle. They just sit there and do nothing unless you buy the ability to use them for $2 each. Now, there are 2 other DLC characters for $4 each, but I don't really mind that as much. If you add a DLC character that isn't in the base game, then I'm fine with that. But having 2 characters that you need to do cryptic stuff in order to have them join you, then be told that you can't even use them because they're locked behind a paywall, does not sit well with me at all. Lastly, there's the biggest problem for me, the share system. It's touched on lightly throughout the story, but basically, every quest alongside giving you a reward raises the shares of a specified nation and takes shares away from another nation. This system is what determines, well, a lot of things, but most importantly, it's what determines what ending you get. If you get 70% shares for the nation of each CPU you're trying to recruit, then they will challenge you to a fight and you will get them on your team, making it so you can get the true ending. But not only does that require a lot of grinding, but there's also something incredibly stupid that can happen to you. There's a hidden penalty system. Every time a CPU dies in battle, their respected share count decreases by 1% permanently. So, die too many times and you are locked out of events that will lead you to the true ending. Which, combined with that whole item skill kerfuffle, yeah, good luck with that. It's because of all those reasons that I personally dislike the original Neptunia the most out of this entire franchise, even counting spin-offs. Now, if you like this version of the game, that's fine. Even with all of that, there's still a decent game here. However, nowadays, there's only one version of this game that I can recommend to newcomers. Released in America on August 26, 2014 for the PlayStation Vita and January 29, 2015 for Steam, Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 1 is a remake of the original game. Using the gameplay style from the second game onward and the battle system and mechanics from the third game, they've made a version of the original that fits in more with the rest of the main series. Since a lot of the changes are from the sequels, I feel it would make more sense to talk about them in depth there. But all you really need to know is that the pacing is better, the story is the same with some slight changes, the writing was touched up, the share system is not nearly as annoying to deal with this time around, it's much easier to get those extra endings, and Nisa, Gust, and the DLC party members are sadly not in this game. But you do get a bunch of different party members that are from the second and third games to replace them. Lastly, there's a new system in place called the Remake system. This can change factors like jump height, how strong enemies are in specific dungeons, the function of various game mechanics, and adding new items to the store or new dungeons to explore. Oh, and yeah, you can actually use items in this game. It's weird that that needs to be noted for a game released in 2014, but that's just how things go, I guess. Hyperdimension Neptunia is an odd one. On one hand, I really like it for laying down the groundwork and kickstarting this kooky franchise that I like a lot. But on the other hand, I wonder how this game got more than one game, period. It's why I say this game is an enigma. It's puzzling to think that a game with so many odd design quirks and was absolutely panned by critics managed to get to the way it is now. Maybe players were charmed enough by the premise and writing, or maybe people tried it thinking it can't possibly be that bad. Regardless of how it happened, this game has helped create a franchise that has made me smile with delight with every new entry I play. And even if I don't like this game, that is something I won't take for granted anytime soon. With that is all I have to say about Hyperdimension Neptunia. Let me know what you guys think about this game, but only if you want to. Guys, be safe out there, and thank you so much for watching. Released in America on August 26, 2014 for the PlayStation Vita and January 29, 2015 for the Steam. Yeah, that's right. God.